So this is going to be a documentary of how to grow a ginormous watermelon. So my daughter's in 4-H. We're not going to use her real name on video. We're just going to call her the plant daughter. So the plant daughter is in 4-H, and one of the things that she's doing is growing a huge watermelon for a watermelon contest. And we are going to document the whole process. Hopefully at the end of this, we are going to have a full documentary of what we've done to grow a ginormous watermelon. The first thing that we've got to talk about is the soil type. So where we live here, our native soils are extremely sandy. We live on Sand Mountain. Our soil types are 80 to 90% sand. So what we've done is we've come in here, we've added pine bark, we've added peat moss in equal parts, and then we've thrown some ash in on top of that. The ash that we have used is exclusively from my egg. I have a Kamado Joe, and it's nothing but lump hardwood charcoal. It's not the briquettes, it's real wood, and when that burns down to the ash, we've been spreading this over the top. We've amended all that into the soil, and we have come back over the top here with longleaf pine straw. The pine straw is going to do a couple things for us. The two main things is it's going to aid in moisture retention in the soil, and it's also serving as weed suppression. So the first thing we've got to do today is April the 23rd. We had our last cool snap last night. We got down to 40 degrees. We looked at the 10-day forecast, and the lows are in the 60s, the highs are in the 80s every day. It's only going to get warmer from here. So we are going to go ahead and plant our watermelon seeds. So it's time to plant our watermelon seeds, and we're going to be spacing these 3 feet apart. We're going to start in the corner here, and they get planted at a depth of 1 inch, and 1 inch is roughly down to the middle knuckle of your index finger. So if you just put your finger down in the ground and go to the middle knuckle, that's about 1 inch. So the plant daughter is going to help us do this, and so what we're going to do is come over here in the corner, and I'm going to put my finger down in this amended soil, and she's going to take one seed and put it in the hole, and then we're just going to cover it up. And then from there, what we're going to do, we're going to step over 3 feet, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do another one about right here, and then the last one will go 1, 2, about right there.
I'm the plant daughter. We've planted 9 seeds in a 3x3 grid behind me. The watermelon seeds that I planted can grow up to about 200 pounds. We didn't plant all the watermelon seeds. We're going to plant the rest of them inside and see how that compares between outside in the 3x3 grid or in a pot.
So after putting our seeds in the ground at a depth of 1 inch, we need to water them in thoroughly. We're going to saturate the soil here, so saturation's to where the ground can no longer hold any water. You start to see water pool on top of the ground, and no more. We're going to water this once a day for 7 to 10 days, and we should start to see some leaves come up. At that point, we'll begin our implementation of nutrition for the watermelons. Okay, so it's been 17 days since we have first come out and planted our seeds. We are past the cotyledon stage or the leaf stage. So the cotyledons are the first 2 leaves that come up out of the seed. We have some true leaves of the plant now, and now it's time to start thinking about how we're going to fertilize these watermelons. So plant daughter, can you tell us what type of fertilizer we're using?
We're using Osmocote. It feeds up to 4 months, and we're using 1.5 tablespoons on each side of the plant.
So we're using Osmocote slow release prill. This is a 120-day prill. It's going to release for 4 months. And so the plant daughter is going to demonstrate how we're putting this out at a rate of 3 tablespoons per plant. So plant daughter, can you show us what we're doing? So we're going to fill up her spoon, right? Mm-hmm. And then just maybe like a half moon shape. Is that what you're going to do around one side?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then we're doing the same thing on the other side, correct?
Yes, sir.
Another thing that I'm going to do, because I don't want my daughter involved in this part of the process, we are going to put out a systemic insecticide on these watermelons. So watermelons around here, they're notorious for getting what we call squash bug. And I could go over the top and spray a pyrethroid-based insecticide every 2 weeks or so and keep them at bay. And the pyrethroids are safe. Pyrethroids are derived from the flower of the chrysanthemum. But the problem with that is any insect that comes in contact with that is going to die eventually, and I don't want that. I've got a lot of pollinator plants in my yard, so I'm being very strategic about how we're going to keep squash bugs off of these watermelons. And so we're using a systemic. I'm gonna put a granular in the soil. It's called a metacloprid. It gets taken up by the roots, and if an insect feeds on the vegetation, it will kill that insect. So it'll get the squash bugs, but if a butterfly or a bee lands on the leaf material, it's not gonna hurt them because they don't feed on leaf material. Now, there is some evidence that suggests that if a pollinator feeds on the nectar of a plant that has been exposed to a metacloprid, that insect may become confused. For example, a bee might not be able to figure out which way the beehive is, or the butterfly might get disoriented a little bit. That research is still up for debate, but just to be on the safe side, what we're going to do with our watermelon flowers, once they flower, as soon as we see a flower, we're going to put a flower net over the top of it, and we are going to hand pollinate these watermelons. So just on the off chance that a bee or a butterfly comes in contact with these plants, we don't have to worry about disturbing a beehive, or we don't have to worry about disturbing the butterfly population. So yeah, we're going to use some insecticides here, but we're going to do it in a very safe and ethical way. So through the magic of editing, we have fast forwarded several months to kind of talk about our finished product of watermelon here. Unfortunately, I lost some of my video over the summer. I was filming about every 2 or 3 weeks. I had some corrupt files. I'm going to give you a synopsis of what I did throughout the summer to grow these watermelons. We watered them, hand watered them every single day, and then every other week we were on a rotation. So on the first and third Mondays of the month, we watered with Miracle Grow, and then the second and fourth Mondays of the month, we watered with BioKelp. So BioKelp in and of itself does not add a lot of nutrients to the soil. What it does is it increases cation exchange capacity. That's a fancy word for saying it makes the nutrients in the soil more available to the plant. So we were adding this because we're putting in all this nutrient input with the Miracle Grow, and we had the Osmocote that we put in as well at the beginning of the rotation, and we wanted to make sure as much nutrients got into the watermelons themselves. So we watered every day, and then we were on an every other week rotation with Miracle Grow. So first and third week Miracle Grow, second, fourth week BioKelp, and we had some really good results. Okay, so we have the plant daughter back with us now, and she is going to tell us some amazing things that she did with her watermelons throughout the summer. So could you tell the viewers what you did with your watermelon?
Oh, of course. So the day of the competition, my dad came and cut the watermelon so he could bring it to the competition. They weighed it, and once the weighing was done, they announced third, first, and second place. I got second place, and my watermelon weighed just about a little over 30 pounds. And that qualified me to go into the state championship, which is where I got 7th place in the entire state of Alabama.
So our operation did really good. I'm going to give you some pointers of what we would have done differently to get even a bigger watermelon. But she was 2nd place in the county, 7th place in the state. So we started to get watermelons to show on June the 1st. The competition was on July 31st, and these watermelons were still growing when we picked them. So they were putting on over a pound a day when we picked them. There's no telling how big that watermelon could have got. We've got some watermelons we're going to weigh here in a little bit here. We're at the first part of November. They've grown all summer, and we're going to see what we got. But we're really proud of the plant daughter. She put in a lot of hard work, and the only members of the competition that did better than her were people in counties further south than us. So they had more growing days to get their watermelons bigger. She actually had the second largest watermelon in all of North Alabama. So if you were to draw a line, I-20 pretty much cuts Alabama in half. She had the second biggest one in North Alabama. All the other ones were bigger south of I-20, and so their frost date, it was earlier in the year, which meant they got a head start on us. So we're really proud of her efforts. So what would I have done differently to get even larger watermelons here? So our directions were to plant these on a 3x3 grid, 3 feet by 3 feet. I would put them on a 9x9 grid. These watermelons went everywhere. We had vines on top of vines. Our goal was to have one watermelon per plant. And that made it very difficult when the vines were all growing on top of each other. We actually had to come up with a flagging system of putting flags next to the root of the plant and then chasing the vine out to the watermelon and putting matching flags with the root to make sure that we weren't getting multiple watermelons. And so as we're growing these watermelons throughout the summer, we were trying to come out and pick off the flowers so that we would just have one watermelon on the plant. Sometimes that didn't happen, and we had several watermelons get over 10 pounds on us. It seemed like overnight. They would just be down in the vines and you couldn't see them until they got bigger. And so as soon as we saw those, we would pull them off to try to get all of the nutrients from that one plant into that one watermelon. We didn't want our nutrients spread across 4, 5, 6 watermelons on one plant because the goal is to grow them as big as we can get them. All right, so let's go ahead. We're gonna cut some of these big watermelons off the vine. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 watermelons in here that we're gonna measure. We've been growing these all summer. We've got 1 watermelon per vine, and let's see how big we got these. Okay, so we've pulled the scales out of the bathroom, and we're gonna weigh our watermelons now. So Plant Daughter's gonna help us. If you'll go ahead and zero out the scales for us. Okay. And what we're gonna do is take 1 watermelon at a time. They're so heavy. And I'm gonna put it on scales. I'm gonna shoot B-roll with my phone. And we're gonna see what we have. So we're gonna verify the numbers with my phone. So I'm gonna shoot whatever's on my phone is also gonna show up on the scales. What do we have, Plant Daughter?
We have 43 and 4/10 pounds.
Yep, 43.4 pounds. Good job. All right, so let's roll this one off. And if you'll zero out the scales again, let's see what we got with this one. Woo!
Keep getting bigger.
Maybe, yeah. That one's what?
45 pounds.
45 even. We'll get a picture here to verify. Okay, if you'll hold that for me.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll get our next one.
Is this a workout?
It is a workout. Oh my gosh.
I'll zero it out.
Zero it out. There you go. Good job. What we got?
That.
It said 42.4, and then it zeroed out on us. So I think our viewers will know it's 42.4 because it's about the same size as that other 42 or 43 pounder, right? Mm-hmm. All right, let's get this one. We may or may not edit that. We'll see. We're having a good time. Okay.
Uh-oh.
I
got it. Come on.
There we go. Oh, we got a zero. Oh, wait for it. Okay, we're back in business. All right.
Okay, we are back.
Ready?
See if you can pick this up one more time.
All right. Take a picture. That one's not as big. That's 37, and we had an error. The wheelbarrow tilted, and we had one roll on us. I don't think this one will be as big either, but we're gonna find out. Can you roll that one off? All right.
Okay.
See if we can get that to zero out. There we go. And the last one
is 31 pounds.
All right, that one was a smaller one. Okay. So this particular variety is Carolina Cross, and it can get over 100 pounds big. I think the world record is close to 200 pounds for this particular type of watermelon. So things I would do differently to make them that big, I think on each individual plant, I had too many runners. So I would probably cut my runners down to like 2 or 3 runners. And then like we said before, I would grow only 1 melon per plant. That's imperative. But I think I had too much of my inputs, my fertilizers, going to vegetative growth and not pushing fruit growth once I had fruit. So we're going to do this again next year, I think. What do you think?
Definitely.
We'll enter the competition. This has been a great treat for me to see my daughter get competitive and have a love for agriculture like I do. It's been a lot of fun. If you've got any tips or pointers, if you've grown huge watermelons, please leave a comment down in the description below. Help us out. We're going to start reading up on how to grow bigger watermelons over the winter, so when next spring gets here, we're ready to rock and roll, and I think we can get a state championship.
Definitely.
Let's do it. Guys, as always, thanks for watching The Plant Doctor, and until next time,
Happy gardening.
happy gardening.
I think that turned out pretty good.
Yeah.